Excuse me?
Email me.
Yes. All right. Good evening, everyone. It is 6 p.m. on Monday, August 7th. So I call to order the meeting of the Lancaster Select Board. Reminder, this is being recorded and broadcast thanks to our friends at Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. We'll do a roll call first. Ms. Turner.
Here.
Mr. Allison.
Here.
And I am here as well. So 3-0. We have a hearing at 6:10, so if it pleases the board, we're going to jump around the agenda a little bit and try to clear some easy procedural things out. So I'm going to draw your attention to section 9 of the agenda, licenses and permits, to see if we
Minutes first, or
we can do minutes first if you'd like, but when I said we want to go to section 9,
You're in charge.
we go to section 9.
Roger that.
Why don't we go to section 9 and do those permits real quick, and then we can do minutes and any other things that we can get done between now and 6:10.
Move to approve the application for public entertainment weekdays and Sundays, D. Flynn Inc., DBA Fiesta Shows for the annual Bolton Fair, August 11th through 13th, 2023, Thursday 5 to 10 p.m., Friday noon to 10 p.m., Saturday 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., and Sunday 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. at the Lancaster Fairgrounds, 318 Seven Bridge Road.
Is there a second? Okay. Any discussion? No. Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. There we go.
Do you want me to offer the
Sure.
to go the application for public entertainment on Sundays for Tie Rod's annual car show, September 10th, 2023 at the Lancaster Fairgrounds, 318 Seven Bridge Road.
So moved.
Second. She moved.
Second.
She said she made a motion.
You.
Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Third.
An application for a special one-day liquor license for Tie Rod's annual car show to be held on September 10th, 2023 at the Lancaster Fairgrounds from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, congratulations on those. Now we will entertain approval of the minutes from the previous meeting on July 27th, 2023.
I'll offer that motion to approve the minutes July 27th, 2023.
Second.
All those in, any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, now we're just cooking with gas. Let us keep on moving on.
Do you want to look at some of the communications?
I'm gonna jump down to communications. So select board's upcoming meetings. I am unavailable on August 21st, so we can discuss later in the meeting. We may have to have a meeting next week anyway, so give you both plenty of time to think about next week's calendar in your own lives and be able to come back with some options at the end of the meeting. Other communications, reminder, special town meetings called for Monday, September 18th, 2023. Meetings to be held at the Mary Rowlandson and Luther Burbank Schools starting at 7 p.m. Any other news on that we won't get in the other section of the agenda? Okay. And again, special town election, which will follow a week later, called for Monday, September 25th, 2023. The polls will open at 7 a.m. and be open until 8 p.m. at the old town hall right here on the town green. All right, we are super efficient now. Maybe we can go to some appointments. We have one seat open and one applicant for zoning board of appeals.
Correct, who was an alternate?
He was an alternate. He's being moved up to a full member. Is there a motion to appoint Eric Jakubowicz to the zoning board of appeals?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Were you raising your hand or fixing your hair? Okay. That's right. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, congratulations, Eric. Thank you for your willingness to serve. We have the Tax Fairness Committee nominations and appointments. We had two folks at the last meeting that we wanted to give some more time to, but I'm at least ready to vote on the appointments that are listed here, Sheila Casey and Denise Hurley. I don't know what the will of the board is, but
I move to appoint Sheila Casey and Denise Hurley to the Tax Fairness Committee as an at-large.
yes, they are both out. No, Denise is the Council on Aging, or the Friends Designate.
Denise as to be friends, and Sheila Casey to be an at-large.
Indeed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What's that?
Was she, I
To be at large.
thought she was COA.
No, Denise is.
Oh, so it's friends slash
Friends slash
COA,
COA.
either or?
Yep.
Okay. And that large?
Yep.
Okay.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Right, we just had it.
Yes.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, 6:05, still got 5 minutes to go. We have one seat to fill on the Recreation Committee.
Yeah, I'll throw out a motion there because I just had a couple quick conversations. Moved to appoint Sherry Cutler to the Recreation Committee. One seat open, term to expire 6/30/2026.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to thank Jessica Williams for applying. I mean, it was really, I don't want to call it coin flip, that would be disingenuous, but I know Sherry's put in a lot of time, and it's an opportunity for her, and look forward to seeing Jessica Williams' name come forward again.
Aye.
That would be great, and she, obviously, we talked about it last time, so she knew we were up this time.
Yeah.
so-
So I second that motion. I think she, anybody who's willing to step up and serve, we appreciate and we encourage to continue to offer themselves in service. There's lots of opportunities. So there's a motion. Was there a second?
Yes.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Sherry. And thank you, Jessica, for your willingness to serve. So that takes care of appointments. All right.
Would you
Go
like me
ahead.
to, we have, what, 3
Yeah,
minutes or
we have
something?
4 minutes.
4 minutes. Do you want me
You've
to try
got-
to knock off the tip?
Yeah, you got some items on your list. That's great. Yeah, hit it.
So I received notification because of my designation through the Montechusett Traffic, MJTC and so on, that the TIP, which is called the Traffic Improvement Plan for our region.
Transportation Improvement Plan.
Yes.
Improvement
is-
program.
Yep. Is open for comments, and this year the comment period has been truncated. It's a much shorter one. It ends on the 14th. So I was going to suggest that we send just the forms or post them on our website so people in the public want to comment.
Sure.
Or maybe the other planning board. Most of the amendments have already been made and the heavy lifting, so it's more of a review. There is not a lot for Lancaster in the current tip because we are currently looking at the benefits of our traffic improvements as we've been going through and been so well managed by our detail officers and so on, so yes. But it is worthy to look to see what other money is coming into the area, how it affects us, and if people have comments, they're encouraged to do so. So,
Great.
Kate, if I send, I think you probably have this, but if I send this over to you, you can get it to Mandy or you or whoever, post it.
Fantastic.
I have one from old business.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's actually kind of new business.
All right.
I was tasked with coming up with the performance review process. After town administrator, we approved the process. I needed to get a couple questions answered from council. I got those questions answered. I'm ready to move forward. So I would like to propose we start the process and give you all 2 weeks to get the responses back. So
Absolutely.
just note in the email that I sent, that's the process we're using. Please fill out the select board version. There's also a version for staff, which I'll work with Kate on to get disseminated out to staff to get responses. Any questions?
I have none. Do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Okay,
Thank you.
awesome. And then I have one item that came in this week, and we'll talk about just before we open our 6:10 hearing. In the budget that the governor is signing this week, we are happy to announce that our state legislative delegation has secured us a total of, I believe, 80 or 90,000, 80 or 90? $90,000. $80,000 to provide infrastructure improvements at the Lancaster Community Center and $10,000 for furniture at the town library. So if you see our legislators, please thank them for the $90,000 in the state budget that's helping us do some projects that are desperately needed.
That's great.
So we thank
Thank you.
Senator Cronin and we thank Representative Kilcoyne for their good work on our behalf. And miraculously, we're still 1 minute to go. So how's everything? Oh, 6:10. Okay, it's 6:10. Good, because I was, clearly running out of things. Okay. 6:10, we have a public hearing. Now, Kate, we open the public, we do a motion to open a public hearing, is that right? And read this exactly as it's written? One of my colleagues wish to do
I
that.
will offer a motion to open the public hearing for the renewal of special permit license to remove earth products and read the hearing notice in, which notice is hereby given that public hearing will be held Monday, August 7, 2023, 6:10 p.m., located in the Prescott Building, Nashaway Room, second floor, 701 Main Street, Lancaster, and via Zoom. Zoom address included, to consider the application of John E. Canis, 535 Harvard Road, Mass., for renewal of a special permit, Lancaster, Mass., I'm sorry, for renewal of a special permit to remove earth products, sand and gravel from a parcel of land located at the terminus of Pine Hill Road, 0 Pine Hill Road, further identified on the Lancaster Assessor's Map as Map 31, Parcels 4, easterly of B&M Railroad, westerly of Nashua River, at the end of Pine Hill Road by DeFalco Engineering Services, 35 Pine Hill Road, Lancaster, Mass. A copy of the application and engineering plans may be viewed in the Town Administrator's Office, Prescott Building, 701 Main Street, Suite 1, Lancaster, Mass., between the hours of 9 and 4, Monday through Thursday. All persons interested in providing comment should attend and be heard.
Okay. There's a motion to open a
Second.
hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
The hearing is open. Okay. Sir,
Good evening,
good evening.
John Farnsworth,
Yes, you are. Just give us your street address for the record.
35 Pine Hill Road.
There we are.
I'm here representing the Canises. I think we have 3 things to go over before we brought you each a package there.
You just send them.
Thank you very much.
Beautiful maps, love them.
We have 2 abutters, the town and Fisher Valley.
Good.
And we've got their cards back. The assessors had identified a 3rd abutter. And I recognize the name as a protege of my great-grandfather. And at the end of your package there is a blue sheet. And
Very exciting.
The blueprint, yeah.
1850s. And I think the parcel they were looking at is the one that's DPW.
Oh, okay, good.
Okay.
Now, in the advertisement, we have it listed as DeFalco Engineering. Well, DeFalco had a stroke 5 years ago, and he passed about 3 years ago. And, the plan is Farnsworth Engineering, DeFalco Engineering is no more.
Copy that.
Now, I'm happy to answer any questions.
So I think, yeah. So I don't have any questions for you. And as typical, if we're renewing an earth products removal permit, it's typically done without the purpose of a hearing. We had a vote at a previous meeting to do just that. Turns out we need a supermajority, which means it has to be unanimous, and it was a 2-to-1 vote. So we're here. So I don't have any questions for you. You've said you don't have any questions. Do you have any questions for Mr. Farnsworth?
Sure. First, thank you for coming. I know that this is laborious, and you prepared an excellent packet, which I'm interested. Having sat in this position, looking at many earth removal permits, the reason that I voted against not holding a hearing was, or I should voted against waiving the hearing, was because I think that everybody deserves a chance to be heard, especially the applicant when they do such a fabulous job as you have presented and the Canis family has in this. This is the standard to which other earth removal permits should be judged. It's always been excellent. The standard questions that we ask, and you know all the bylaws by heart. I think you probably helped participate in some of them. I know your family did, about the offsets to water level, which you're maintaining. And yeah.
Is there a question?
Yeah, are you maintaining this? Obviously you're going to say that.
Yes, and we've actually reported them on the drawing, and he only works in a 4-acre area, but we have them all over the site. and we have them here annually, and Ty and Bond also comes out, and we let them corroborate our findings.
Has Ty and Bond given us, as a select board, the findings for this, the report for this? Usually they do.
Usually they review the plan.
Right.
Right.
And they have an inspection report.
Right.
They were out about a month ago. We haven't seen any of that.
I don't think the report's back, but they said there was no deficiencies.
Okay. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were any deficiencies.
I think they enjoy coming because they never find any problems.
Right, hey, who wouldn't want to do that?
Right. But it impacts our water and our environment strictly. If somebody wasn't as honorable as yourself at the Canuses, it could cause a lot of issues. So normally I would want to see our experts' report, but I think it's fair to say that this is something that has consistently, in my experience, been excellent. Do you have, I don't think I have any questions. It's more about offsets, the number of, how many trucks and how long, because I know that this permit was waning,
Well,
but it sounds like.
He's had very few. I think he's able to have 70 or 90 a day, and he probably only has 2 or 3 a day. And, you know, if you look at the drawing, he's still in the 2021 box. I was going to say things have been slow. Hopefully they'll pick up.
I remember we went on the sidewalk. Well, metering it out is smart, it's wise. So how many trucks are allowed?
You just said 70.
I know we said 70 to 90, I just didn't say. It's 3.
It's over 70.
Okay,
He's
So-
67 to 87 away from his number.
okay. So if we just wrote 70 on the permit, that would be fine, right?
Now, I think in his permit,
Yeah, we're renewing the permit, so it's on the permit.
I know, and this is, well,
Yeah.
we can obviously make any amendments, but,
in the permit somewhere, I think it says hydro seeding, and, you know, he's not hydro seeding. He's actually reforesting the area by picking up the material that's on top and bringing it down and
That's great.
establishing it.
That's nice.
And he's one of the few pits in Massachusetts that's been able to successfully, you know,
Well, we appreciate that.
establish the pine barren.
well, that's what Fish and Wildlife worked hard, why they found this attractive, this area, wanted to do that. So if it says hydro seeding in here, which I don't doubt because they did for consistency, I'm trying to find it, I think we should remove that because you want to make sure that,
Yeah. Have him continue
But you can-
reforestation.
but the purpose behind covering this stuff is, we don't need to go into the science of it, it has to be covered, but doing it in the manner in which he
Well, for years.
has, in accordance
you
with
know,
Fish and Wildlife.
We've seen, you know, the tops of these areas being dozed off. And here in town, we've lost the lady slippers and low bush blueberries. And, you know, when you have a giant machine and you can actually,
Pick up the land and put it back down.
you know, it's done a great job with that.
Yeah. Well, we thank him, and thank you. Any other questions? We're running out of,
Yeah, do we have another hearing in a minute?
we do in
Thank-
1 minute.
Okay, we probably have some public, I don't know, maybe not, there's never, rarely. I know that you asked for 2 years, or more than 2 years, you asked for up to 10 years, but the bylaw says 6 months to 2 years.
2 years.
Not to say that we couldn't renew again, right? So anyway, if I find that hydro seeding part, or if you see it, please just let us know, and we can amend that, should the board agree.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time, and again, we apologize for bringing you in. Thank the Canuses as well.
Pleasure.
Aren't you kind? Thank you. All right, now, remind me, yeah, but after any public comment, do we then adjourn and then we vote? Got it. Any public comment on the Canis land permit to renewal of the permit? No? Okay. All right, is there a motion to adjourn this public hearing?
a motion to, would we close it? you think?
Adjourn,
Yes.
close.
So I'll offer a motion to close the public hearing for the earth products removal.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Okay. Now is there a motion to approve or disapprove of the renewal of the product? We need to vote to.
I move to approve the earth products removal special permit for Keating Earth Products Removal.
Cadence.
Cadis.
And
Is there a second?
second?
Okay, is there any discussion?
Yes, I'd like to amend it to say removal of the hydroseeding
Can you point where it is in
requirement.
the permit?
I do not see it, but he referred to it, and I know we did have it, so we would have to do that subject to finding it.
We can't amend something we can't find.
And you can't do contingency
Yeah.
motions.
Well, and subject to the satisfactory tie and bond, which Kate said is already on the way.
So the motion's to approve,
And I just add,
Seconded.
and I have the conditions.
you can't add conditions to the motion. We could then try, we can't do a conditional approval. We can.
I can amend the motion to remove hydroseeding requirement.
But you have to be able to point to where it is in the permit. And if you can't point to where it is, we can't remove it.
Okay, hold on one second. It is section B, paragraph 2.
Do you have replacement language?
Let's see, it's, yes.
You'll have to propose an amendment to the motion, or amendment to the permit, I suppose. So we'd have to vote down the permit vote and then,
You can amend it's a motion to approve.
I
so,
guess
so
I'm
if, so if the,
I'm wondering what
if the applicant is asking for a renewal under the same circumstances and they are meeting, frankly, exceeding what the
Yeah.
permit asks, why would we
Because-
change, let me finish my sentence. Why would we change it to give it a different standard when they're perfectly fine the way it is, the town's perfectly fine where it is, and they're exceeding their standard?
Because when Time Bond reviews it, if they don't have the hydroseeding, which they're not doing, it would put them in violation of the permit because they do another better method, but it's different. This requires fertilizing, for example, here, which is not required.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the renewal of the permit. If you have language for an amendment, we're glad to entertain it, otherwise there are people here for other hearings and other things. We have a motion on the table. So,
10-minute earth removal period, it's a record for us, for
Well,
me.
I
Could
will
have
not be
been done.
seconding any amendments to it if that helps us.
it's been done a long time ago.
So I would offer an amendment to, and this is to protect the applicant, to strike the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6, 7th sentence, shall be fertilized and seeded.
Is this their permit that you're holding in your hand? Are we striking just things out of
I
chapter
don't.
220 in zoning?
We are.
That's not
They're
the
doing it
permit.
with this, yes. So the permit that they have,
Yeah.
we referred to the hydroseeding, and I do not see that in the language that we have in front of us. That would come in the time bond report.
Right.
So, okay.
Okay, so there's a motion on the table to approve the renewal of the special permit. If there's no amendments to the permit, we'll call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay,
Aye.
congratulations. Hello.
I move to open the public hearing to consider a petition submitted by National Grid under provisions of Chapter 166, Section 22 of the General Laws and any additions thereto or amendments thereof. A public hearing is scheduled for Monday, August 7, 2023 at 6:20 p.m. in the Nashua Meeting Room located on the second floor of the Prescott Building, 701 Main Street, Lancaster, MA, and Zoom link, to consider a petition submitted by National Grid, request permission to locate poles, wires, and fixtures, including the necessary sustaining and protecting fixtures along with and across the following public way: Mill Street Extension. National Grid to install one SO pole on Mill Street Extension beginning at a point approximately 180 feet south of the center line of the intersection of Lee Street and continuing approximately 15 feet in an east direction. Install a new sub-pole 35-84 in order to accommodate removal of tree guy. We're removing a tree guy.
Guy wire.
I know, I was gonna say, but it should be
Wire.
a set, yeah, wire.
Well, a tree guy can be something other than wire too. So there's a motion.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of opening the hearing? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Hearing is open. Anyone here to give testimony on the National Grid?
If you're remote, please raise your hand and I'll unmute you.
If there's someone from National Grid,
Robert Williams, maybe?
please raise your digital hand.
Actually, he's
Will
able to
speak up?
unmute, people are able to unmute themselves.
Okay. Fantastic. Oh, I've driven by the location just because it's right near where I grew up, know it very well. It seems perfectly fine. I'll ask the chiefs, do you all have any objection to? Okay. Hearing no objections and seeing the clear need.
Just, I would just say it's possible that they're not here because this was tabled, if you remember,
Yeah.
from quite a while ago.
Yeah,
When we were,
Yeah.
so just,
that's fine. All right,
Is there a gentleman in the back?
yes, sir.
Questions? I'm at 38 Mill Street Extension, which is just diagonally right across the street. My neighbor, Ryan Field, unfortunately, he was not able to come here tonight, but that tree on his property is coming down, correct?
I believe so.
Yeah, he'll be taking it down, and they're gonna, are they replacing that pole directly across the street to which it's tethered?
So it says they're installing a new stub pole in order to accommodate the removal of the tree guy, so I'm assuming they're putting a pole there to,
Okay, so it's gonna be also on, between our two properties on it, which is fine with me. But I just wanted to make sure there was gonna be some type of tethering line or a pole there.
I believe that's what this permit application says, yeah, yeah.
Just wanted to make sure that,
I know a little bit, my father climbed utility poles for his entire career, I know a little bit about utility poles, but yeah.
and the other one is, because my daughter lives on Lee Street, 2 houses in, I was just kind of curious as to why they would be included in the mailing that went out. Is it because they're not on the same?
Because they're an
grid?
intersecting road.
Oh,
And so it's,
that's-
yeah, just because it's named in the application that it's an intersection of Lee Street. It's right, because from a descriptive perspective, they use Lee
I
Street.
didn't know if they were gonna reroute.
Fair question, it's a fair question.
No,
It's just used for a descriptive,
and it's
thing.
within 300 feet, so that goes,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, okay.
quite a ways.
Okay, so it's gonna be either a pole or a tethering line between our two properties, 43 and 38. Yeah, which-
It's gonna, so it's, yeah, there's gonna be a new stub pole, in order to accommodate the removal of that tree guy
Right.
that's there, so, yeah. And can you, I know we got your address, but can you give us your name and address just for the record?
yeah, Glenn Ryberg,
And you said 38 Mill Street?
38 Mill Street Extension.
I grew up on Woodruff Road.
Ah, okay, yeah, I've been there about 15 years, so.
We would have, I've not been there that long, I haven't been, I was there for a long time before that, but
All right,
nice to know you.
that was the questions that I had.
Awesome, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks very much for coming in. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Board comments, questions, concerns? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing. Oh, yes, sir.
When will this be done?
When will the work be done? That I can't answer. We give them the permission and then they do it on a work schedule. Yeah. Usually within 60 days, says our dear town administrator. Could be tomorrow, could be 60 days from now. Yeah.
Before when?
Could be 80. but
Well,
they're
yeah,
running
they
late.
definitely hope to get it in before winter, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, is there a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion to adjourn the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're closed. Now, we can deliberate this great topic. Or someone can make a motion to approve the pole sighting.
I would offer a motion to approve the petition as written.
Second.
Any discussion?
It would just be nice to note your concerns when we send them the approval or contact information. I mean, they already have your contact information, but just
I
to
don't,
be
he
in,
didn't
to be
indicate
in
a
touch.
concern, he just had a question.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
just a name, so just to touch base when they're gonna start or something, but they're quick, they're speedy.
They'll let, if they're doing it right between,
Yeah,
they'll let you
I'm
know.
sorry, can you guys hear me? Or
Now we can.
I think my microphone wasn't working, but I'm here.
Just so you're aware, we closed the hearing. I'm feeling pretty good
Yeah.
on your odds, so you may want to just,
No.
remute yourself, unless, no,
No.
I'm kidding. If you've got something that could be helpful to the resident to know time-wise on when this will be done.
It should be going into scheduling. I know they were going to do it, but they wanted the stuff full, so I think it's within the time frame. It should be pretty soon. But yeah, that's
Somewhere in the pretty soon timeframe. Yeah.
Does that,
I suppose that's a relative term, pretty soon.
it's fair to say 30 to 60 days?
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you.
That's good,
Okay,
because we did.
thank you. All right, there's a motion. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. There we go. Thank you very much. Now we are back in our regular select board meeting, and I've got to figure out what we haven't already done. All right, we have boards, committees, and department reports. Who's next? Lancaster Board of Assessors, a butter lot sales program.
Yep, so I believe Bobby Joe Williams, our principal assessor, is on Zoom.
There she is.
Bobby Joe, and was there another member of your board?
Yep, Kristen Fox, my board member, is here as well.
Oh, down the bottom.
Okay, great. All right.
Okay, so thank you both for coming. I think we're here because the board went over the preliminary draft of the butter lot sales program, and one of the key aspects of this is a price per square foot. And given that you all are the subject matter experts on such things, I think we felt like a conversation between the parties might be due, but doesn't have to be confined to only that if there's other things in the draft that you all would like to talk about.
Well, I know there were a few things that we threw out. We don't typically deal with price per square foot, as I had mentioned.
Right.
For tax purposes, and we're usually always a year behind for assessment value. So one of the things that we talked about, or I think I had questioned, was whether or not an appraiser was going to be involved to determine fair market value when the lot was ready to be sold. And the reason that I asked that is because with values being looked at every year, I'm finding it hard to put into a policy or procedure a set value that's going to stay there all the time. So I didn't know if maybe the guidelines can maybe change to just include market value at the time of the sale or the request of the sale. This is a new program to me, and I know Kristen, who fortunately is also a principal assessor for Stowe. So between the two of us, we kind of went back and forth with a few issues.
Yeah, so the reason just generally that the appraisal for fair market value is sort of has been left off of other towns doesn't mean it has to be here. And I'm not advocating one way or the other, but it's because the idea is that these are unbuildable lots that are very small, and the parameters by which somebody might be able to acquire them is very limited. And so the cost to have an appraisal of that might be far more than the worth of the property. Now, whether that rises to the level that it shouldn't be involved is a policy decision, but that would be why it's absent on City of Springfield, Framingham, Littleton, and a couple of the others that are in our state. But again, that, like I said, it's a policy decision, so.
Yeah, how does one?
I didn't know if we were specific. Are we specifically leaving the program open to undevelopable or unbuildable lots? Is it going to hone in specifically on that? Because there's a lot of town-owned property, and obviously I know we still haven't run a report as to what's out there, but there's a lot of town-owned property. Some of it is, there are 3 different categories of primary, residual, and undeveloped. So I ran a quick report myself, not honing in on it or narrowing anything down, but we do have properties that are coded in all 3 different categories. So again, specifically narrowing in on the program and what we're going to be allowed to be sold as part of this program, because the other issue is the titles, doing a clear title search, making sure that the town definitely has ownership of it, because as the tax collector brought up, there's been times where title searches or property takings, tax takings were not done properly in the past. Just last year, I had to put 2 properties back on the tax rolls because the tax taking wasn't recorded properly. Something very simple, as the recording process. So making sure that if we narrow down the policy procedure guidelines, they're gonna have to be pretty specific so that we don't find ourselves, in the long run in a catch-22. Also, the Supreme Court case that the collector, Mary Frost had brought up, that these tax takings now, there was a Supreme Court case that with the tax takings, when the primary owner comes back to claim it, if the property was sold for more than the cost of the taking and what was owed, the town is going to be obligated to pay out that excess, and that's obviously still in litigation for Massachusetts.
Yeah, so those lots wouldn't be eligible under the program. These are ones that are already settled that we have clear title to. And the acceptable uses, at least that are proposed in the draft, were for landscaping, garden, increase capacity for septic, off-street parking, a garage unit, and a small addition to an abutter's existing structure. But even that would be limited based on setbacks, and obviously, that would be under the purview of our building commissioner.
So when we go that step further, again, just to make sure that all of these properties are going to be in a clear title to the town.
I mean, I can beef up the language that's already in here, but it's part of the complete application review.
Can I ask a question, whether or not this has ever been the approach? I have no idea, but say there's a parcel, there's an assessment of that parcel, the person's house, the land, and there's a lot next door. Is it ever envisioned where they do a second assessment that includes the lot next door and then the sale price is the delta? So they would envision, well, this whole property would be valued at X, but the person's property currently is at 90% of X. So then the sale price would be somewhere.
I mean,
Because it's going to be a different price in some, based on some
Yeah.
value versus another.
But you couldn't,
Except for the assessment wouldn't be clear unless there was a structure on it. Because if there's a structure on it, then the assessment would be more than if it's just.
Yeah, but don't you,
Yes.
yeah.
so
So then it's just,
Well, it will return to that would be the issue that would be the benefit, is that it returns then to the tax rolls.
right.
And then would be assessed accordingly.
Right.
So it's not like that you just buy it and then that's the
No,
end
no,
of it.
yeah, I
You
get
buy
it,
it and
yeah,
whatever it is that
yeah.
you do with it yields some type of
Yield some
additional.
tax increase, yeah.
Where the property line is then, I guess, changed to include the parcel.
Right.
but I think Bobby Joe brought up some interesting points, which agree the market is pretty fluid right now, and having a set price in a policy that.
Well, it's set till you change it.
Correct.
Isn't everything?
I mean,
Right.
it isn't that you set it and
Change
never
it.
review it. You could
Right.
have.
Right, you could change it
You could
frequently.
have a policy that says that when the tax rate is set, at the next meeting you review,
You review the
so
price.
that you can do them all on an annual basis if you want.
But I think, is there a way, because I think that common sense would indicate that the appraisal idea, you're right, it could be very expensive. You'd have to mass a bunch of properties and do it. But if you ask somebody an appraiser to appraise a small lot that was going to remain unbuildable, it's a much less costly and intensive appraisal than if you ask them to appraise a
Well, I
retail lot.
don't know how accurate that is because just in my own personal life, we've done that and it costs $1,000 just to get the person
Just
out.
to do it, yeah.
It does.
Is
For
there,
real-
from setting a price, I'm spitballing because I don't have any perfect idea for this, but does it make sense to look at least what the average taxes per square foot in town?
Yeah, which I think
Or
Bobby
average
Joe
value
had
or whatever.
provided, which is the current square foot varies from $1.15 to $1.72, depending on the neighborhood. That's what, that's what you had sent. I know there's a number of factors that go into
Yeah.
that, and
But I mean, these lots we're not talking about massive
no, they're
sizes.
the size of the room.
Yeah, which is not large.
No, it is not.
But are you raising your hand or just using your hand to think?
Oh, sorry.
I do this sometimes too. So.
I'm sorry. It also, and that's where, I guess that's where I'm hesitant in regards to setting an actual cost value, because number one, I weigh heavily on that fact that we're so far behind setting value. So for instance, for fiscal year 2024, I mean, we're going to be looking at calendar year 22 sales just in order to set, assess values. So depending on the type of property we have, as I had explained, the first 2 acres is typically considered a primary lot, whether it's buildable or not. It depends on the land. We have 3 categories. We have primary, residual, and undevelopable. So those rates can base off of, if it's a primary lot, the prices that you quoted. If it's considered a residual lot, it's like 14 cents a square foot. And if it's considered an undeveloped lot, then we go down to 0.023 cents a square foot. So they really do range depending and varying on the classification of it.
So the other communities that have done this have taken the buildable lot value average. And they have a couple of the communities have a plan, a policy decision through the select board and the assessors, and in the cases where it's run by the planning division, to revisit it every 3 years.
I mean, that's sort of where I'm headed. I mean, it's not like they're picking up a tiny sliver of land in the back of their property that they're getting it for a reason, right? Either do one of those, in theory, like, otherwise, why would you buy it? If, like, you didn't have a
garage.
need. Yeah, if you had a need.
Septic
Like
is
all the,
a
yeah.
lot of the,
yeah.
most of the, which environmentally urging folks to upgrade the septics in and around the pond, where the majority of these unbuildable lots is advantageous for the pond.
So the most communities who do this do it somewhere in that dollar something range for a price per square foot.
Yes, and
Dollar, with those two
the ones that are in this area out into Western Mass are in the $1 to $2. The closer you get to the Cape, it's considerably more.
Yeah. Well, luckily,
Understandably.
we're not moving. We're gonna stay
Right,
here.
but I'm just, so if you were to look at the Commonwealth, when you say, which was in my memo,
Yeah.
somewhere from $1 to $5, $5 isn't generally speaking in this area, it's more ocean properties.
What does Littleton do?
They do a dollar, and
$1.
Springfield does $3 and change or something along those lines, so,
Okay.
or they did. I don't know if they've updated it since I looked at this a year ago, they might have, but.
Remind us when you need a decision on this. Today, tomorrow, 6 months from now.
I don't
time
actually,
the
I mean,
poll goes
so we can't enact the program until there's a decision on it, one, and the second part of that is that a listing of
The
parcels that would be eligible then would need to be accepted for sale by town meeting. So all of that can happen while everybody chews on the price per square foot.
Okay.
If in fact the board wants us to spend time and effort looking at how many properties this may cover. It could be with clear title already.
Yeah. I think that's
It
the
could
key.
be 3.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the key, is the clear title piece. So I guess I'd ask the board, do you have a price preference? Would you like more time to chew on it, as Kate would say?
I would suggest that we encourage Kate,
Yeah.
sorry, and,
I just-
oh, sorry.
Yeah, I asked him.
Yeah, maybe 3 proposals, a low, medium, and high,
Okay.
and pros and cons of each. I'm inclined for lower. I mean, because I think we're going to agree at unbuildable lots, right? It's an unbuildable lot, and it's under a certain square footage. Like, I just think we're getting spun around the axle here, right? These aren't like secret finds that people are going to put $1 million homes on, right? Like,
No,
No,
it would
I
be.
mean, they're unbuildable until they add to that lot, and then they can do the expansion.
so let's just keep it simple, right? I guess where I'm going with this is I'm inclined to trust that this is going to be a good and positive program and people will not abuse it. So let's put them in a position to do good things for the town.
So as I recall from your overview last time, Kate, in reading this, is that we would vet the list anyway, so we'd have an opportunity to see it. So if that
Yeah. And we can
McMansion
take
lot
that,
snuck through, we
Right.
would see it.
Or a municipal purpose.
Right.
Correct, and there may be some purposes for that, parking lots for conservation land or something like that. But the price to me is something, as you say, that we can nail down next time, but I think it would be fair to say that we would encourage and dedicate the staff time to get this going, to get the list of land and anything else that Kate feels needs to be done to get it going.
My inclination, obviously, is keep the program moving full speed ahead. My inclination is to go on the low end at $1, and then revisit in 3. Like, let's just see how the program goes. This is new. We obviously, no one here has found the perfect way to decide on a perfect number. So, if there's nothing perfect, let's pick the perfectly imperfect, and go with a like-sized and minded community like Littleton. But I'm glad to let.
Well, so I think the next steps would be to send this to council, our land council, which would be Chris Heat. Without, independent of of how many per
Price.
square foot, and get the language that would satisfy having clear title. And then send that to Bobby Joe, who can then disseminate that to the assessors and those in the treasurers, and make sure everybody's comfortable with that.
Great.
And then the final piece can be the $1 once that language makes
Right.
people feel a little more stable.
Right.
Does that sound all
Bobby
right?
Joe, does that sound
Bobby
good
Joe?
to you?
Yeah, I just think, for me and the board, when we discussed it, was just making sure that something doesn't come back on us, that land
Yeah.
is 100%, owned by the town, and that it's clear of anybody coming back. And there is a lot of properties that are, deemed conservation and whatnot, so it is gonna be a matter of pulling up a list and reading through it to figure out exactly what properties are gonna be eligible for this.
So when we are, after all that work is done and we are ready to sort of have that update, we as a board will vote on a price and we'll move forward. But if you've got some suggestions other than what's laid out in your memo that
Yeah.
Jason would like, then that would be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not a real estate attorney, so I'd like
You're not?
language. No, but I don't play one. So, that language would be good to get from the source.
Fantastic. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bobby Joe.
Thank you,
Kristen. All right, moving on. Now, we are in public comment. To remind folks, there are no rules. Apparently, the Supreme Judicial Court says you can say whatever you want. So have at it. But we are capping it at 2 minutes. And we will go with folks in the room first, then go with folks on Zoom after that. Please, if you are in the room, do as Ms. Syria did, which is make your way to the podium to be heard and state your name and address, and you'll be heard.
My name is James Syria. I live at 102 Bolton Road in this lovely town.
Welcome.
I have some great concerns looking at tonight's agenda. One of them being a new fire truck. And I say that not because we may not need one, but for 1.2, I'd like my street lights back. I'd like to see our police have some new cruisers, and I'd like to see our DPW get a new dump truck. We just put $800,000 for a new ambulance. We just bought them a ladder truck not that long ago. But more importantly than that, we have just passed an override that's pretty tough, and it's going to be tough for a lot of seniors. And now we're talking about a new high school. And from what I'm hearing, it's going to cost the taxpayers I don't know, 54, 58, 68 million dollars over the course of how many years? And what is that going to do to our tax rate? We have to slow down on the spending. New fire truck is a wishful thing, but we have mutual aid for reasons, okay? And at this point, I don't think the town should be spending that kind of money at all. And we need to figure out what we're going to do with the school and how we're going to take care of things. And you need to educate people how much it's going to cost us. Kate, what's it going to cost the taxpayer if it goes through as it is?
This is public comment period, not question and answer.
I can't ask a question? Okay. Don't you think the public should know that? Are you guys going to address, you're going to address that today?
We will be talking about it a lot.
I know you've been talking about it, but you're giving people figures so that they can understand them, Steve. From what I'm hearing, it's going to triple what we just passed. So if you get a $500 increase, if we pass this school, you're going to get an additional $1,500 on top of that, on top of your regular taxes, which, by the way, increase about 4.35% a year around there, because you have your 2.5% you can go up, and then you have your capital expenditures. You guys said if we did the override, you're going to try to give money back. You're not giving money back, spending $1.2 million on a fire truck.
Thank you very much. Joe Duramo, unless there's somebody else in the room. Who'd like to- Oh,
Hi there, can you hear me?
I can. Go right ahead.
Joe Duramo, 127 Harvard Road. You've got an agenda item coming up regarding the Memorial School Reuse Committee and I guess an engineering study to explore options for reuse.
Yes.
I just want to state that I think that the engineering study should not be focused on a single option, but give the town several different approaches to consider. I know that there's a presentation out there on the Memorial School Committee site that shows a pavilion concept, and in that there's a 14,000 square foot pavilion, a quote from Circle B, that just give the town a straw man quote to what could be on that site, and that's concerning. Concerned about having such a large structure when I look at other towns. For instance, the Bolton Pavilion that you see at Bolton Common, that measures 60 feet by 30 feet. I was just there. I'm sorry, that's the Stowe one. Bolton Pavilion is 44 by 24, just over 1,000 square feet. And what we're proposing in Lancaster is 14 times that, nearly 14 times that. In Stowe, at their community park, it's 60 by 30, or 1,800 square feet, and we're proposing something that's 8 times what they have in Stowe. I'd like to see other options coming out of this engineering study, so that maybe there's a way of saving a couple of the classrooms in the community, in the Memorial School, that are close to the community center, that could be used as classrooms or other space with a recreation use. I know there's a stipulation there based on the legal opinion for the town. But maybe there's a way of saving some of the building and having a pavilion. I like the idea of a pavilion, I really do, but I think what's been proposed is oversized. Thank you.
Thank you. I would just point out that I appreciate your comment, and we'll go to Mr. Gifford next. At the last meeting, we did discuss that we are tasking whoever gets the contract to explore all options and not just the one presented by the reuse committee. So we discussed at the last meeting. I think the tape's online, but we agree we should look at multiple options.
Thank you.
Ralph Gifford, you have your hand up. Ralph Gifford, you still have your hand up.
Okay, yes, I'm trying to get there we go, or I think my video started. Oh, wait, I just wanted to speak briefly to the issue of the...
Name it, Ralph, name and address.
Yes. Oh, sorry, thank you for that reminder. Ralph Gifford, 861 George Hill Road.
Thank you.
Okay, speaking to the issue of the selling price for the butter lot sales program, it strikes me that this is a revenue maximization problem. How do we get the most money out of this for the town? And given that these lots in general are of no interest or not saleable to probably anybody other than a butter, because they really have no use other than people who are butters, The only way we're going to get revenue is if we make the price attractive to the abutters. Once we sell to the abutters, then that will increase their property and we will get tax revenue. If we set the price too high, I believe we'll actually be less successful in the program and actually ultimately get less revenue because nobody else is going to buy the lots. So I would encourage the board to think about keeping this affordable because ultimately we'll make much more money on the tax revenue from these lots. That's briefly my input. Thanks.
Thanks. Okay, thank you very much. Any other public comment online?
I have one.
Hold on a second. Any other, Ralph, can you put your hand down? Any other in the room? All right, we will close public comment to the public, and I'm going to make it available to the board. So you go ahead.
I thought you were closing public comment, I apologize.
Just to the public, now we're going to make it to the board. Go ahead.
I'd like to, Jason Allison, 343 Brockman Road, speaking as a resident. I'd like to share a story. Might be a little emotional. So I was driving home, Rock's Throw from my house on Brockman Road, and I drive up on a car. It's a Land Rover, probably a lot of you saw it on Facebook. And it was on fire, and I didn't see who was in it, didn't know anything about it. And I was the first car there coming north on Brockman Road. And I got out of my car, what do? I don't know anything. But there was a guy I could see down the road as I approached the vehicle, and he was on phone. I believe I'm assuming he was on call 911. And I just see this car on fire, and it could have been any one of us. Within 45 seconds, it was less than a minute, police officer arrived. And, shortly thereafter, another police officer arrived, and then ambulance, and then fire. I know the override is a difficult conversation for a lot, and I know a lot of us look in our pocketbooks and wonder, how are we going to make it? How are we going to survive? It dawned on me in that moment, really, what is the difference in time? Now, everyone was safe in that instance, but that may not have been the case. And I'm not here to pick sides on, how people feel about it, but I do want to share that experience and how impactful it was to me being, 15 feet away from a burning vehicle, wondering if there was somebody inside. So anyway, I just wanted to share that. I'm really grateful for the services we have in town. I'm really grateful to all the residents who approved the override. I respect the residents who did not. But I want you to know that the money that we have goes, in my opinion, to a really good use. So thank you for listening.
Thank you. Anything you'd like to say?
No, thank you.
Okay, public comment for everyone is closed. And now we move on to the town administrator report, during which we will review the special town meeting election process.
It's good, because I was just looking at what I was supposed to be talking about.
So tee it up for you.
Okay, so the special town meeting, and Alex, this was not in the packet, if you want, so, sorry. It was in the printed, I just forgot it. So, the superintendent has brought forward language to the town administrators of Bolton and Stowe, and obviously Lancaster. So that would be the vote to exclude the debt. There are two separate types of votes that we will take. So Monday, the 18th, is a vote to incur the debt, and the election on the 25th is a vote to exempt the debt. For the special town meeting agenda, we are looking at, obviously, that as a warrant. Warrant article, rather. We also are looking for the ratification of the emergency services classification scale because the fire department personnel is no longer covered by the Teamsters Union. We are looking for an inclusion of employees' titles that are covered by the bylaw, and I have heard from several of our contracted employees about their desire to be covered by the bylaw, including our finance director, our library director has come forward, and the library director in particular has spoken to his board about that. And so I think that'll be something that we need to vote on. The water enterprise is looking to amend their capital budget to include the purchase of a new truck with Chapter 90 funds, so that is budget neutral, but it still needs appropriation at town meeting. Then the planning Planning Board has an amendment to the accessory dwelling zoning bylaw that they would like to have, and then, of course, depending on what everyone talks about this evening, and at the Finance Committee, it might be an amendment to the FY24 capital plan pending
Got it.
your approval. So we will need a special meeting next week because you all will need to approve the ballot language, and then you will need to approve placing that ballot language on the ballot, similar to what we did with the Prop 2.5 override. You will also need to close the warrant. So it would be Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, since the Finance Committee meets on Monday. And that would be a few agenda items only regarding town meeting and the election.
Can you pause for just a moment?
Yep.
How are my colleagues on Wednesday, the 16th?
Sorry, checking my calendar here.
Appreciate that. I'm not looking at your calendars.
He wouldn't let me look
Tell me
at his.
whether you're available.
You can't look at mine if I can't look at
time?
yours.
I mean, I think we can pick a time that works.
Oh,
And whether you want hybrid or only Zoom or both. We'll both those hybrid.
Sure.
Rounding.
No.
Turner?
Please say no, please say no, please say no.
I can say yes.
Which
Same
day?
answer I just gave him. We can entertain different times. Yeah.
Okay, well,
What times are you available
morning is great.
for you?
On the 16th, you're talking the 16th,
The 16th, yeah.
your preference? So, early morning, but I would need to leave by,
The morning's not gonna work for me.
Yeah, I need business hour, like,
Yeah, it would need to be 4:30 on.
okay, then
I suppose I could do 4, but I would have to be by Zoom.
I won't be back by 4. I could be back by our normal 6 o'clock time.
I mean, you can participate by Zoom if you wish.
Yeah, I'll be, it won't be possible from where I am. But is the 15th hour is an option?
15th is not for me.
Because then I'm available at 4.
Yeah, I'm not. Unless it was an all Zoom one at lunchtime, but otherwise I'm.
So let's see. 16th.
Executive session.
Yeah, we really should do it in person. So 6 o'clock on the 16th? If we promise to be quick.
6 o'clock on the 16th. I mean, I have to cancel my thing, but
Is that,
that's fine.
I'm sorry, that's bad for you?
You'd have to
I will do
cancel
it.
something.
I will do it, but it's a nice to have thing. It's not an important thing. I can do Wednesday if needed.
Wednesday
Jason,
at
how
6.
far away and, I mean, do you want?
I don't want to talk about my personal stuff. I will make the Wednesday if I need to.
I can do, and I could probably, depends on traffic, I could probably get here by 5:30, but
Is
if that
five
helps
better for
you.
you?
Does that help
So,
you?
6 o'clock, no, I can do 5:30.
Let's do 5:30. 5:30 on the 16th. Okay.
The town clerk, which you don't have to render a decision until that meeting, but just to think about it, the town clerk has asked to waive mail-in voting for the election, given that
Yeah,
we'll
it'll
only
be
have 4
very
days' time.
complicated,
But, and to allow early voting in Prescott Building Tuesday, the 19th, so the day following town
Yep.
meeting, through Thursday, 9 to 4, and then Friday, 9 to 1.
Can she send us an,
I will do that, yeah.
She's seeking, sorry, may I ask a question? Is she seeking approval or is she
Correct.
telling us?
Approval.
yes,
Doesn't the elections work outside of our purview like that? I'm
No,
surprised.
you all usually approve.
We can decide early voting and mail-in voting? I didn't know
Yes.
that.
yeah.
So
For a
yes,
municipal election. If it's a state election that allows all those things, we cannot change that. For
Absolutely,
municipal
yeah.
purposes, we can.
so I will send you that for you to
So,
Thank you.
chew on until your meeting
Lots to
on the
chomp on.
16th.
sounds good. but I like its odds.
And the language that is here would be the ballot language that you would have to vote to approve and then place on the ballot. So,
Sounds good, okay. Anything else in the town administrator report?
was that a second? No, potential town meeting articles, I did it all
And
this
you
morning.
did all of that.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. And now we have, I think, 5 items to go to complete our meeting. It's a fantastic day we're having. So, number 1, Lancaster Fire Department Engine Replacement Program.
I've got you, I just,
Chief?
oh, come on.
My co-host, in case you lose your...
Are we waiting to see a presentation? Is that
Yes,
what-
and I never,
What do you need?
I need to log on because it logged me on.
Oh.
Sorry. I'm gonna put in a ticket.
Yeah, put it on an IT ticket.
You're closed. Can you let me in again, please?
Yep. You should be a host, you should just join, but...
Well, Chief, nice to have you here. Thank you so much for being here.
Zoom is installing updates. So sorry.
Zoom isn't doing what?
It's installing updates.
Oh, that's fun. Okay. Do we want to, why don't you take a seat? We'll tick off some other things while the updates are happening. Thank you so much, Chief.
Sorry
Your
about that.
presentation was flawless. Thank you. All right, personnel policies, new section including public safety. I believe you just alluded to that for an article in the town meeting.
Correct. And so this is part of the Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, which is exclusively under the Select Board. I had written a memo about it, but effectively, we talked about that would sort of be a document that would have to evolve over the next 18 to 24 months, because not everything that could possibly come up will come up. And so now that you all have approved the supplemental pay scale, we need for you to approve the firefighter promotional language, because we didn't have a means to have any promotions for lieutenant or captain. And I know that we have a vacancy, a captain's vacancy, which we would fill as a lieutenant, both as a cost savings and also a combination for admin duties. So the language that you were provided in the attachment to the memo is to add a new subsection within the class and comp chapter, and called firefighter promotional opportunities, which I have written there. And then the second part would be to add clarifying language regarding sick and personal leave, because the way that it was written in the town code was that everybody, regardless of the number of hours you work or the weeks out of a year that you work, you receive personal time, sick time, etc. And so this limits it to full-time benefit eligible, regardless whether they're full-time, but benefit eligible year-round, non-seasonal, regular status employees. And it also has some prorated information in there, because as we hire people unilaterally, they just are seated whatever the number of weeks are. So the issue was, if you would hire somebody in January, they were given 3 personal days that would automatically renew in July. Really, if you hire someone in January, it should be a prorated amount. So this language articulates that.
Great. So you need 2 motions or 1 motion, or you don't have a preference?
I do not have a preference,
As long
unless
as-
one is a no and one is a yes, and then it should be
Indeed.
2.
All right, so I asked the board if there's a motion to add a new subsection, firefighter promotional opportunities, within the existing classification and compensation chapter of Lancaster's Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual, adopted by the Select Board on May 15th, 2023, as laid out in the packet.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Fantastic. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. I'll ask the board if there's a motion to add new and clarifying language regarding sick and personal leave within the existing attendance and time off provisions chapter of Lancaster's personnel policies and procedures as laid out in the packet.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Okay, fantastic, all right. How are the
We're good.
updates?
That-
Okay.
Yep, I'm sorry about that.
Chief, once more into the breach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just a small slideshow presentation on the request for replacing engine 4.
Thank you.
You have the slides? No, there it is. Engine 4 is a 1999 E1 Cyclone 2 rescue pumper. It was ordered back in 1998 for the sum of $237,000. Currently, it's 24 years old, with the average life of these types of engines being 20 years plus or minus on the wear and tear. Engine 4 is listed in the department's current capital plan to be replaced in FY24. In 2016, capital request was made for what was refurbished in 2016. The request was made in FY15 for $20,000 to do some refurbishing of the truck because it was starting to rust and rot. It extended the life of the truck. I estimated for 5 years at the time. We're at 7 years, and it's starting to show signs of the rust and rot again. Engine 4 has had several electrical issues. A lot of the parts are no longer available to repair it. In 2019, while we were doing a training exercise, the truck experienced an issue with the pump. I think we have another slide on that, but I'll go through the expenses. The expense to this was $6,464 to fix it. The truck was out of service for over 30 days while it was being repaired and troubleshooted. The issue was found to be what is called the captain's governor, and it's an electronic mechanism which controls the pump for water pressure. Bulldog Fire performed all the repairs and attempted several different governors. They tried different models, newer ones and such, to try to fix it. Were unable to. The manufacturer, E1, was consulted. E1 asked what model was being worked on, and they have job numbers for each truck. And when they told what Engine 4's information, they said that there was only one of those types of trucks left in the service in the entire country. They did tell them that that's the truck that they were working on, and E1 had one original governor left on the shelf. They were able to sell us, but couldn't warranty it because it was an original 1999 part.
Well, I mean, at least we're the only one.
And since 2020, the town has spent $10,938 on repairs to Engine 4, with $4,474 of those spent in 2023 alone, proving that the truck is nearing the end of its useful life. Since the COVID-19 pandemic, fire apparatus and ambulances have been back ordered due to supply chain issues and material stock shortages. Manufacturers have recommended that towns make their requests for new products as soon as possible, because the average build time is anywhere to 2 to 2.5 years right now. Should the board approve this today, the new Engine 4 would be available and put in service on the 27th birthday of the current engine that we have.
It's enough.
This request was originally included in the FY24 capital plan, but was ultimately removed by the leadership team due to the town's financial uncertainty and the looming need for the operational override. When this was investigated last year at FY23, the estimated cost was quoted at $800,000. The updated quote 1 year later is now $1.1 million, a $300,000 increase. Should the board approve this for review at the special town meeting this September, there'll be no cost occurring to the town until the engine is built and delivered. It is estimated that the town will take ownership of this new engine by the end of 2025 or the beginning of 2026. The first payment for the truck under this timetable would not be due until FY28. If it helps to elaborate, we do a lease-to-own program. We don't buy the truck outright at the full price. And with the company we've been using, Like with the ladder truck, after we took delivery, the first payment was interest only, and then the next year was a full payment. So we didn't make a full payment for almost 2 years after we got the truck. As with engine 2 and the ladder, the town participated in the lease program. Engine 2's last payment of $50,000 was made last month. The lease is now satisfied. Just so you know, there is no buyout at the end of the lease like some lease programs. Ladder 17's last payment at approximately $125,000 will be in July of 2028.
Meaning, you mean there's no lease buyout, but we still keep the truck?
Right, we keep it, but we don't, like, some leases you have to.
No, we just took it back.
Like, you have to buy it outright or
Right,
something.
exactly.
Towns of our size and density should have 2 working engines and a ladder in order to provide a full response for fires and emergencies. The ability to have the proper equipment and responsibility in terms of personnel and reliable equipment available is reflected in the town's overall ISO, the Insurance Service Office rating. That rating affects all residents and businesses in town. The time in between the acquisitions of the last 2 trucks has assisted the department by ensuring the fleet remains in good working order without a substantial or negative financial impact to the taxpayers. This is what the potential new engine Ford looked like. It's a drawing that the company sent. It'll be a custom truck to ensure it'll fit in South Fire Station, and this is necessary due to the age of the station, as the newer standard models of the trucks are typically built much wider and taller and will not fit into the garage bays down there due to the age of the station.
Okay. Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. I remember discussing this, well, how about this? I remember approving it back in 1998. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And I remember discussing it through the capital plan, and obviously it's something that needs to get done. And because the first payment won't be made till FY28, it's also necessary. To me, it's something I'll fully support moving forward. I don't know if the board members have any other questions or comments.
I'll add some. I just don't understand how towns keep up. I just do not understand. I mean, we literally just passed an override. On Sunday, I told my story about the burning Land Rover. I didn't tell you that I was coming back from my bike ride early Sunday morning. There was a vehicle-car wreck at Hilltop in George Hill, right? So I know that there was dispatched for at least 2 accidents right near my property. So clearly things are happening. I don't know why or what, but I don't know how towns keep up. There's clearly, I think last I saw, it was like 2.5 calls per day on average for our fire EMT. We clearly need the service. I just don't understand how we can afford it. I mean, we have to figure out a way. I don't understand how towns can keep up.
Thank you, Mike. Your presentations are always very good. Let's see, the question, so yes, it's not 1998 anymore.
No.
1.1 million is a big chunk. And that is, I'm assuming, going to be coming out of where is that funding coming out of, should we approve it?
It'll be in the normal capital budget, I would assume.
So the lease payment that we have comes from the line item that says transfers out. And so we transfer out somewhere in the neighborhood of $175,000 to $200,000 for the leases that the chief just alluded to. And so it would be coming out of that same line item. As it is now, one of those has dropped off and one will drop off next year.
Yeah.
And so it would be the same.
Do we have a sense, and I don't want to hold you, oh, sorry, you were asking a question.
That's
Sorry,
it.
go ahead.
Thank you. Getting back to the lease, times have changed. I don't know when that rate is captured, because, for example, we ordered the ambulance that Jane spoke of earlier. We ordered the ambulance, it's not in yet, so when do they calculate the payment and the interest on the ambulance?
The ambulance was bought with ARPA money,
That's true.
and that ambulance is in because of the company I ordered from had some made, so we're able to get one within 7 months.
Oh, that was a lot quicker than we expected. Well,
Yeah,
congratulations.
the original ambulance we were looking at was going to be 2 years,
Right.
but it has a sister company that had some already made, so we went with that one because the old ambulance wasn't.
Floor model, huh?
No, it's not the,
So, all right, so assuming that we're doing a lease on this one, do we know what the interest rates are and how long those leases are?
I don't yet. Mary would look into that.
Okay. Just, I know that as interest rates have gone high, it's put a chill on things. You talked about the newer trucks being bigger, and I know there's lots of new toys. Is there anything you sacrifice with the size?
No, I don't know why, honestly, they're going bigger. They're making them what they call a 102-inch cab, which is just, it's almost an 8-foot wide cab. The typical is what Engine 4 is now, is like a 92 to 96-inch cab. It's just if you want to order it now, it's considered custom. I think they're just making them bigger to fit more stuff on them, but we could fit everything from Engine 4 onto another truck that size.
Yeah. The Engine 4 does fit in South, right?
Yes.
Now, yeah.
That's where it is now.
That's where it lives. The other thing is these are, how is this fueled? Is it diesel?
Diesel.
I know there's electric fire trucks now.
I actually looked into them, and I looked, because we're part of that green community, to see if there was any way to do funding. And it's not really big right now. LA Fire actually has an electric fire truck, and they're testing it. And there's no programs to get them. I forget what the cost was they paid for theirs. So there isn't a lot out there on it, but they are making them. They're using them more overseas than they are in the country right now. But during one of our national grid meetings, I did ask about funding and stuff like that, because if it was available, I would give it a try, but there was nothing available for grants or anything.
Nothing yet.
Well, no freebies, but I just didn't know how it compared price-wise to a conventional engine.
Yeah, that I don't know. I would imagine it's probably up there in cost the same, because the equipment on it and the truck being built, it'd just be the battery system and the electrics.
Yes.
I'm assuming it'd be a little more.
Figure if it's anything like a school bus, it was 45%.
more,
More.
yeah.
Yeah,
So if you're,
I'm sure it'd probably be
it's probably wrong.
Yeah.
more, but
I'm not opposed to it. Actually, with the ambulance, I tried looking at electric ambulances because they had them, but they weren't approved in the United States yet, but they were in Canada, but not here.
what is the trade-in value in this?
I believe on the quote we got was $7,000.
88, 7,888.
$88.
Yep.
Do you need it for target practice or anything? Make it easier. Okay.
So does it, what do you do when you trade it? Does it go back to the lease company or does it go to state?
It will go to the company that we're buying the truck from, it goes to them.
It's part of the bill of sale. So it negates the need for the 30B because it's part of the bill of sale.
Okay.
And so then we take a copy of the bill of sale and we upload that to Combis, and that satisfies the requirement.
Okay.
Do you have any further questions?
No, I mean, you always present very well, and I don't doubt your need, and I know that that's eons ago. I can't even remember how long. I do
25
worry about the pressures of the things that we haven't satisfied yet. The school.
I understand.
I worry about the foundation and so on, so I'm very torn. I'm mulling, but I think you have, I don't think you have to worry based on what I'm hearing. So anyway, that's it for me.
My one question, just, and I know it's a guesstimate, because I know we won't know until we know our interest rate, but we have a sense, I'm assuming the one lease that's dropped off, the other one's about to drop off, this number will fit somewhere,
You better.
yeah, nicely in that amount, so it's,
Well, you
at least
can-
not,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yeah, go.
So I'm assuming it fits nicely into that dollar amount, so we're not gonna see a,
When doing our modeling for the school, which I understand is a different entity, but we were coming in around 4%. And usually for long-term leases with, lease to own, it comes in about either half to 1.25% below. So I would hope for somewhere between 3.
but I'm talking about the dollar amount that we would be paying.
Oh, the dollar amount, I'm sorry, yes.
Yes, we'll be
I would
well within
imagine,
that,
yeah, it would be.
Yeah, because that's $225,000 that'll be coming off by, Jane?
No, just a question?
No. And we, this is how these meetings work, we can't have people just yelling stuff out from the audience, so it's distracting. So we assume it'll be somewhere in that range. Okay.
Yes.
Do Do you have any other questions?
I do. So how long is the lease?
There's an option between 5, 10, or 15 years. And the last one Mary did for 10 years.
Okay, and the leases that we've referred to, that Steve just spoke of, that are coming off, what 2 vehicles are those? I know you think.
Engine 2 was just paid.
17.
And then the latter would be FY '28.
28. And that was 175, and
Okay,
is
so
that right?
that's still got,
Yeah.
what, 4 years?
But that's the
5
same
years.
time this one will come on. 25, 28.
Unless there's a floor model, and we get lucky.
Well, since it has to be custom made, I doubt it.
Yeah. So, do you know off the top of your head roughly what the lease is on engine 2, which sounds like it's
As far as the total?
41,600.
oh no, I just meant the payment, because we're buying on payments these days. Isn't that
That's
because
what
you're saying
she
that's?
It's done,
It's got paid.
Completely done?
yes,
Excellent.
Yeah.
And
as of a couple of weeks ago, so.
so we don't owe any
Brand
money?
new done.
Nope, it's just
Yay.
ours.
Congratulations. And ladder 2,
Is 175.
And that'll be done
And
FY
that'll be
28,
done.
4 years.
Correct.
before this one comes on.
Okay.
Any questions? Any further questions? What do you need from us? Vote to move this forward, or vote not to
Yes, and
move
then
forward?
I will bring it to Finance Committee
Yep.
as well.
Is there a motion to move forward on the engine replacement program as presented by Chief Hansen?
When you say move forward, what do you mean?
Order it?
Vote to support it, the Finance Committee will then consider it, and then we'll have to bring it to the town
It
meeting.
has to go to
It has to
town.
go to town meeting, so the voters have to decide ultimately, of course.
This goes into the capital plan?
Yes.
The capital plan does cover leases and that?
Yes.
Those in a separate, okay.
And it's its own single line item, right?
Correct.
So it's going to be, it's a single, residents get to vote and choose, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
Does the finance committee weigh in and give their recommendation?
They
I would
can.
hope so.
They can. They're not required to,
They're
they
not-
can.
Right,
We
correct.
can ask them, yeah?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd like to talk with them about this. I think it's a very worthy, Mike made an excellent case for it.
I'd like to make a motion to move forward with the
Engine replacement program.
of
Engine
the, or
4,
whatever, what is it, E2?
E4.
4.
For it.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Oh, aye. I guess all those opposed.
I'm going to oppose it for now, not that I will not
That's fine. you
not
can
oppose it on
So it's
town. I might oppose it.
2-1-0.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, next. Memorial School reuse. Draft scope and outline for RFP.
Okay,
Kate?
so I sent this after the packet was out. It's 58 pages, so it's a delightful read. A lot of that is appendices, which I think are important for whomever it is that's going to perhaps put in a potential bid. If you will recall, there was money that was proposed in the capital plan that ultimately was not funded for a study just about the pavilion. There was another small subset of money that was put in as part of the community center line item. I think if we were going to go this route, we would not use that. It was about $10,000 or something. We would not use that. We would use the 120 from ARPA. What we are looking for in the scope of services, just to paraphrase, is so what we're doing is a request for proposals. So a request for proposals comes with a set criteria that potential people who want to answer to potential firms will answer. There'll be a number of grading criteria. Generally speaking, the highest 2 or 3, depending on the number that you get in those grading, then have their price proposals opened, and then the lowest price proposal is the winner. So it's a mixture of price and qualifications versus just the lowest bidder. So the document that I gave you outlines the means in which we will be able to grade or rate those proposals. We're looking at building elements including parking, sidewalks, curbs and ramps, elevators and lifts, electrical, plumbing, stairways and halls, restrooms, large meeting spaces and classrooms, seating area, kitchens, HVAC, water, internet, open space, sports and games areas, security, exterior building features, and the types and spaces or areas which are to be included for consideration, including light schematics, so not as-built. And cost estimates are an outdoor pavilion for public use per the Memorial School Reuse Committee, classroom, makerspace and activity rooms, multi-purpose quasi-gymnasium spaces, affordable housing units including studios or one-bedrooms apartments, shared office space or other rental spaces, or other extension of space for immediately adjacent community center / COA. So the building condition assessment should include the structural system, the envelope, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, fixtures, emergency power, fire, security protection, interior finishes, extension of the adjacent building elevator if needed, and the exterior building grounds, underground utilities, and paved areas. And then it has a number of things that it says are available from the town attached, and then documents which can be provided upon request, including as-built, record drawings, gift and deed restrictions, etc. And so we're looking for a price proposal and compensation structure that would fall under MGL Chapter 7C. So it is a designer fee that is greater than $30,000 with a construction cost that is, or I'm sorry, a final design fee that is under $300,000. So that's the threshold that we're looking for.
It's a really well done RFP, so I appreciate the work and the scope, the broad scope that it seeks to address, and I look forward to getting it out there and hopefully start getting some results. So, does anyone have any questions for Kate about the draft scope and outline for the RFP for the Memorial School reuse?
So, $300,000 for somebody to put a plan together.
Oh, no, that's the statute. So the statute in 7C is 30 to 300. So that's why we have to bid it in this manner. So
Whatever comes in, we get to review and.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
So the not to exceed is, we can set the not to exceed as whatever we want. I would suggest the 120 that was there because I used that based on
That's what we
similar
got.
size projects. But it's not to exceed, meaning that if somebody comes in at 100,000 and they're also ranked highly, that you can accept that.
Yeah. Do you have any other questions?
I forget the address where our money trees are. I'm just trying to remember where we planted those money trees.
This would be an extension of the use of ARPA funds,
Yeah.
not any of the money.
How much is of ARPA's left?
Well, this money's already been set aside for the engineering.
It was not appropriated, but it was set aside, yeah.
We don't know how much.
Is left about
No,
500.
of what this will come back as.
No more than 120,
Which is what was set aside.
less.
So one of the things with, first, it sounds like an excellent RFP, thank you. One of the things that I have concerns about with studies, I don't know if you remember when we did a study on that building way back in the day? We did, there's been feasibility studies when when the kids were in there and they were considering building the new school, which they since have, Mary Rowlandson and Elementary, and there's been other ones, and that happens. Sometimes you do a study and it doesn't get used for whatever reason. We committed to one a couple years ago for the library, which they've done, we're doing, and so on. So it's just like the school too. We committed to one for the school, and now we spent, I can't remember what it was, $500,000 I think on a study for the school, and it's coming to fruition. We'll be voting on a school. So this is the first part.
Yes.
We need to understand, I don't want to throw away whether it be $100,000 or $300,000 or $30,000. So there has to be some sort of understanding of where we're going and how much we're going to spend, and not to have another plan like the many feasibility studies that we've sat on. The other thing that I have mentioned at numerous meetings I'd like to talk about, just because it's a building is the old town hall right there, because it is, I think, in structural distress, and love to have somebody look at that.
Well, so that's a preview to the FY25 capital
Capital
budget,
budget.
which you will be reviewing,
Yeah.
which is a similar type of assessment, not considering housing. So it'd be a smaller.
And oftentimes planning is driven by, sometimes, it shouldn't be, but, who gets their act together? You know what I mean? And the Old Town Hall is, I think, something that we have not addressed enough. What does that mean? Bring
Let's
it
keep
in?
it focused on what we're talking about. We're not on the Old Town Hall, we're on the
We're
old school.
on a part of
No, I
money.
know.
We're on a money, so that's why.
Right, but,
So-
yeah.
So that's,
But this is about the
That's
RFP
what-
for this
Yeah.
particular purpose.
so, I can approve this RFP. I support this RFP, but I think that we all have to be realistic that it leads to more money off Jason's money tree,
Yeah, I mean, look, this school has sat vacant since the year 1999 or 2000, something like that. You would know. 2000. The Old Town Hall has not sat vacant as long, but it is definitely a priority, and we will talk about it in the next capital budget. This is not to address your concern, Alex, and to the townspeople, approving this does not mean we've got a solution to it. This just tells us what can and cannot be done there, gives us some parameters, and gives us an understanding of the structure that exists there in the area around it. And then the town will be involved in the process. The reuse committee has presented a very good, well thought out, well-planned option for consideration. But we want to look at what these engineering reports and the study will convey to us, so we'll have all the information possible. It's a treasured parcel of land that we need to make sure we're using properly. I don't intend to spend $120,000 on a study and then leave it sitting for another 20 years. So yes, it will lead to something happening at that site, which I think most townspeople have been anticipating for almost a quarter of a century. So
I think it's hard for townspeople to even have an educated conversation about what to do with it when you don't know what each of the ideas cost. Because some may come out to be so cost prohibitive that even though it would be the number one idea in theory, in practice, it's too expensive.
And I would say that there's a lot of folks who live in this town who don't remember, like many of us in this room do, when I was in school. That is just a building that's been empty for a long time for most people.
Your mother's office.
My mother's office is where Sterling-Lancaster TV is housed. A good space. But I'm excited for what this will do to continue the process of breathing life back into that building or that space, however we choose to use it. So there's a proposal to release this RFP as drafted. I thank Kate for her efforts. I think it's incredibly well done and well thought out. And I would see if there's a motion from the board to move this RFP forward and out to the public.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Go forth. Okay. Next, we have online financial software programs, Turner and Allison. And then,
Alex, did you have the contacts?
No, I know I owed those to you. I promised them to you when we met and I was out on vacation.
Yours. Just
Just
send
back, but I-
them my way, and I'll make sure
Yes.
they reach out.
and did you
Likewise,
send the town list though? Not just the contacts, just what towns you talked to?
I'll give the whole board, but Jason was going to follow back up everything,
But did you,
so.
I'm sorry, but did you say the towns? I just wanted to know if you said the towns.
I said a couple of towns when I was out there, but I haven't done anything on this because I was on vacation. as
No,
you
no, I
know.
hear that. But when you went home, did you remember what towns you had talked to? Because I remember you were going to pull the
No,
contact information.
I came back last night and I had to run out. I had a crisis today, so I
Okay.
haven't done that.
All
That's why I asked
right,
them.
review and update of town fees. Alex,
Well, you probably got my email that I asked to table this for the same
I
reason.
did not get your email about that, but we're glad to table it. So is there a motion to table both of those, or we just table those?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Question.
Those are tabled till next meeting.
Well, question, the next meeting is the Neshoba meeting.
Yeah, they're gonna get added to the
Is
meeting.
that going to have,
The next regular meeting?
Yeah, the next regular.
right, isn't it? Is that going
Which
to have
that's a
time?
special meeting, so.
Yes,
Okay, well,
this will
that's
get
why-
added to the next regular.
That's why I was asking.
Yeah. All right.
Which I'm sorry, for clarification, Mr.
All
Chair,
right.
is not happening on the 21st.
No,
Okay, so the next regular meeting is September, which I believe might be,
it's Labor Day, yeah.
Yeah, I think we had that discussion.
Um,
What does September?
So, well, before we move to that, can I just see, like, there appears to be nothing else on the agenda, yes?
So question, did we do the 3 licenses? I know we did.
Yes, we did.
2? Did we do the
Yes.
3rd?
Yep.
Just wanted to double check, because I
Yep.
was between pages here.
We did liquor, she did the liquor license and the public entertainment one, you did the first public entertainment one.
I do have a new business.
Well, can we address when the next regular meeting will be?
Sure.
So it would typically be the 4th. In September, we would typically meet the 4th and the 18th. The 4th is Labor Day, making that very difficult.
Do you want to move it out a day? Or?
So, who typically meets on Tuesdays that we conflict with? Is it the planning board?
no, they're every other Monday.
Monday.
Well, every
They're on
Monday,
alternate
that's
Mondays.
why.
Conservation, I think, is it?
Commission on Disability meets once a month on Tuesday. Sorry.
I don't believe there's a.
Okay, so are we okay with the 5th and the 18th then for our September schedule for regular meetings? Oh, the 18th, we can meet just before the
Yeah.
special town meeting.
September
Yeah.
5th, let me just check
Perfect.
here. I cannot do
No.
Tuesday.
5th.
I can do Tuesday, 6 o'clock.
Yeah,
Okay, good, yeah.
it would be our regular meeting, even though it'd technically be special because it's not our regular
It's
meeting.
the Conservation Commission. Is that, are they in here?
Nope.
So the 5th at 6 PM and the 18th at a time prior to the town meeting. If we have a lot, we'll start earlier than 6, otherwise we'll start at 6. That make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Anything else to consider?
No, I'm sorry. I did thought you were talking to the board.
You have a new business item, is that right? Okay.
I do. It's actually a continuation. So I spoke with, as you know, you were generous enough to appoint me to the Freight Study Committee.
Yes.
MRPC
Yes,
last.
you hit the rails running.
I did.
So you got that.
Well done.
Right.
Yeah, got the wheels turning. Yeah, so we got so the freight study requires some public comments, and they've extended it for Lancaster. We've been talking to them on and off, but the communities that in a nutshell, I've learned that Lunenburg, Shirley, Ayer, and Lancaster are involved in this regional study to determine the impact of other towns' commerce, freight, and trucking on us, on the whole region. And they're setting us up, or setting the whole community and areas up for grants. There's 40 traffic studies that will be involved and so on. So I think it's actually a pretty interesting proposal. The other towns, I asked MRPC what would benefit them, and they had more comments, and the other towns included the police department. I've spoken briefly to the chief. I have not spoken to the DPW yet, and the planning board and others. So I would like to, with your permission, get a group going. I think it might also be good, they said that they would take our comments in the next couple weeks if we did a Zoom meeting. And maybe I could give you a quick synopsis of if you approve this, a quick synopsis of the thoughts coming out of the committee at our next special meeting, which would still be in time.
Can you send us something in writing to consider, and then we can vote on it at the next meeting?
Well, the comments are due by the 21st.
So
So
we
Our next
submitted,
meeting's on the 16th?
yeah, Jasmine and I did submit some comments, which I put in the packet. Oh, okay, okay.
And which are great, and they're in that spreadsheet. They're just the other ones, because they had more departments at the table and so on, were.
Okay, because the ones that I put in there were our written comments that we had a Zoom meeting with the person from MRPC to talk about concerns, and it did highlight, despite the fact that both chiefs, we didn't have them on the Zoom meeting, it did highlight conversations that we had relative to potential McGovern Boulevard and a couple of the intersections at 117, and then we also wanted to understand why the truck route that is on 117 by Bolton Orchards doesn't seem to be adhered to, and people just seem to come down further. So those were the ones that we sent. So I don't know whether you need to get the whole band back together again, but the planning board was not, it was just the planning director. So we did that at a staff level, so.
Well, they suggested it would be good to get, and I agree, if you could. I don't expect to deviate at all from your comments, just.
Oh, no, I mean,
just
there
to
might be
sup-
more.
to
I was
sup-
just
to
letting you know that
supplement.
we did submit something at least.
What is an SAR? Because they referred to that a million times, and I hadn't looked it up yet.
It's a something alternative route, standard alternative route.
Okay. I need the cheat sheet. So, and the other thing is that public comment is welcome if, this is something else, I was just gonna give the synopsis, to post along with our tip comments, they're related. So, that's my update from the freight study, that I think it would be good to get it grouped together, but I defer to my board members.
Well, I don't think we're saying we don't want to get a group together. I'm just asking if you can, since it's new business, if you can send us something so that we can act on it at the next meeting. That would meet our policies and procedures.
I know, just that with the
No, I
time
know,
frame.
I hear it. Well, at least we know that a lot of comments have already been made for the town, so we're not fully behind the 8 ball. So if you can articulate it in something written for the packet for the special meeting, we can vote on it the 16th. And then, in the meanwhile, if you'd like, if there's folks that, other town departments that Kate's worked with that want to offer comments, certainly we can deal with that as well.
I can send something and have them just send them directly to you.
It's fine, whatever, yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are adjourned. Have a good evening, everybody.